I'm your host, Kelly Nagel. Last week, internationally known social activist Dr. Richard Lapchick joined us on the podcast to share his experiences with systematic racism, the racial reckoning, and opportunities allies have when it comes to affecting change in society. His advice to, quote, get off the sidelines resonated with us, but it got us thinking about the impediments to creating change. So, over the next few weeks, we will explore the institutional, social, political, and financial obstacles that exist. Today, we're going to explore perhaps the most powerful and misunderstood tool in the social change agent's toolbox, the First Amendment. Teen Think Tank Project co-founder Matthew DeSantis leads our research cohort through a discussion of the First Amendment before being joined by Jeremy Evans, who's the founder and managing attorney of California sports lawyer, Thomas Leatherbury, the director of the First Amendment Clinic at SMU's Dedman School of Law, and Doug Tribou, host of NPR's Michigan Radio Morning Edition. These amazing guests help us better understand how and why the First Amendment is misunderstood, misapplied, and misquoted in the fight against racism through social protest. Enjoy.
Oh, let's take a step back. All right. Okay. What are the Bill of Rights? They're so important to us, right? Every single one of us said we couldn't imagine a government without it. What are they? What are some of the rights that they protect?
The speech and press.
Yep. Freedom of speech. Yep. What else we got?
Freedom
the
of
right
assembly.
to bear arms.
Arms.
Religion.
Yep.
It's the first 10 amendments, isn't it?
It's the first 10 amendments. You got it. We got speech. We got bear arms. The fundamental building blocks of our society, right? These 10 amendments. The fact that Thomas Jefferson was going crazy that we weren't going to add them. Jack James.
I got the third one. Though you can't have, or you can deny soldiers from sleeping in your home.
Yes. We got speech, right to bear arms, protection against quartering. The problem that we see here is that these 10 rights, which are fundamental to our existence, we all agreed that we couldn't imagine a country without them. We have a hard time naming them. And that's not just you guys. I'm not just calling you out, put you on the spot. I couldn't name all 10 if you paid me $1,000 for each of the 10. In looking to have First Amendment speakers come here today, I asked a few of them to discuss the history of the Bill of Rights. So these are individuals whose primary academic and professional responsibility is trafficking in the Bill of Rights, particularly free speech. And they said, you know what, Matt, I'm not super comfortable in that. And those are people who do that for a living. So it's no wonder that we have a hard time with it, because they are fundamental for who we are, but in our everyday practice, they have very little application. Right? Jack James, when was the last time that you had to assert your right against protecting against soldiers quartering in your house?
Never, but there'd probably be a good story if I had to.
I think we'd spend the rest of the time. I would tell Jared to turn the stop clock off, and we would give Jack James the floor to talk about the time British soldiers insisted that they got to quarter in his house. The First Amendment, as Jack and Jeremy have succinctly summarized, is a law that applies only to the governments of the federal and state levels. What doesn't it do, Savannah?
Like in terms of government?
Yeah, in terms of its application, in terms of its protections, in terms of its freedoms. What I know that's a very vague and leading question to say, what doesn't it do? You know, Well, it doesn't make me a grilled cheese sandwich, Matt. Like, it doesn't do a lot of things. Be more specific. What doesn't it provide for in terms of protections? More specifically, who doesn't it provide protections against?
Like against society itself, maybe, like something like that.
Yeah, so other members of society. It doesn't protect me as a speaker against other people who are not the government oppressing my speech. Who are other people besides the government, Nolan?
I don't know.
Say any name you can think of.
My name.
Yes, correct. It does not protect you against Matt DeSantis. Jack James, who doesn't it protect you against? Say any name. Any name will do.
Literally anyone but the government.
Literally anybody but the government. The First Amendment only protects us against the government. So why is it so misquoted? It couldn't be simpler. Baranowski, one more time. How many sentences is it?
1 sentence.
How many things does it cover?
5 things.
It's 1 sentence, 5 things. Why do people misidentify it so much? Why do they misinterpret it? In order to answer that question, we got to understand the complexities, the evolution, and the practical application of the First Amendment. And in order to help us do that, we're going to bring in friend of the Teen Think Tank Project, Thomas Leatherbury. Tom is a partner at the law firm of Vincent and Elkins. He is the director of the First Amendment Clinic and adjunct clinical professor of law at SMU, Southern Methodist University. He is, Jack James, you will appreciate this. He spent a good deal of his career at the intersection of entertainment and law, where he's represented traditional and digital publishers, broadcasters. He is honored. Pick an organization, they've honored him. American Academy of Appellate Lawyers, the Dallas Bar Foundation, presidential citation from the State Bar of Texas. He went to a small college here on the East Coast. You guys might have heard of it. It's called Yale. When his time was done there, he went to a somewhat notable law school here on the East Coast. You also may have heard of it, called Yale Law. But most importantly, like me, he roots for the Everton Football Club of the English Premier League.
Didn't look so good on Sunday.
This weekend was not a good weekend to be a Toffee.
No.
That's for sure. But for our purposes, he is extremely valuable. In addition to being a friend of the program, his specialty is First Amendment law. So, Tom, we've got a very practical understanding of it, of the context, of the text. But we also want to get a better understanding of the spirit, and we want to extrapolate out to find how far the actual practical application of the First Amendment can carry us, and then see if there is any benefit of taking the theoretical constructs, the spirit of that law, and making headway in non-government activities. So we're looking at an entity, a school district, a school board, or a school administration, which falls under the jurisdiction of the First Amendment.
Right. School, public school. Yep. State actor.
So we have a pretty firm idea of what we would do as a research group in this particular instance. And we can extrapolate out, okay, what if it's not vulgar speech by a cheerleader, but what if it is protest speech by an athlete, right? We can start to see what things are. What about that idea that, okay, yes, this public school is a state actor and the rights are protected in that instance. It's a bright line. But shouldn't that concept, shouldn't that spirit, shouldn't that theory be applicable in a charter school or a private school or a private organization, and just keep taking the step away from public school state actor? Talk about in theory. Oh, that's nice. That's utopian. That'd be great if that happened. But then talk about in practice. Why can't we do that? Or can we?
Yeah. No, I think that's a really tough thing, and I'd love to see what comes out of your research project about extending the First Amendment and its concepts to private organizations. But one thing you have to look at is kind of the text of the First Amendment, and it says Congress shall make no law. Okay, so that means federal actors can't make any law that unduly abridges the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. And states are pulled in by a separate amendment called the 14th Amendment that was passed after the Civil War to make sure that states, that the protections of the Bill of Rights applied to people who were harmed by or regulated by states, state legislatures, state agencies, state administrators and officials. So it's really hard to talk about legally in practice extending the First Amendment to private actors. There was a lot of criticism on social media of Senator Hawley, who complained that his First Amendment rights were being violated by Simon & Schuster when they canceled his book contract. That's not a First Amendment violation at all. That's a private actor. It may be a breach of contract case. He may have a breach of contract case against him, but he doesn't have a constitutional claim against him. So I think it's ambitious, and it's really worthy to think about that. I think it's hard in reality without some substantial changes. I think what you see the sports leagues reacting to, what you see the publishers reacting to, what you see other people reacting to in the private sector is more pressure from customers, pressure from vendors, pressure from colleagues, and pressure from unions in the sports context. If those demands come from the players, they have to negotiate with the union, and maybe there's something to be done there if the First Amendment won't get you where you want to go.
So we're up against it a little bit as we start to get into our coursework here. I thought it would be kind of easy. We would just say, yeah, sports and social protest, First Amendment, done deal. Give us our money. 83-27.5 split. Not so fast, my friends.
A big thank you to the Social Protest and Sports Research Cohort, Thomas Leatherbury, Doug Tribou, and Jeremy Evans. If you enjoyed this conversation, tune in next week when we continue talking with Jeremy about sports, society, and protest when he returns for a one-on-one interview. I'd also like to thank all those who made this podcast possible. Our wonderful production team, the George Milton Group, Woody the Moog for our theme song, and again, my Teen Think Tank Project co-founder, Matthew DeSantis. Most importantly, I'd like to thank you, the listener. And hey, let us know you're listening. Subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and follow us at problem_pod. For more information on today's topic, or to find out more about social justice programming for exceptional teens, please follow the Think Tank at teen_think tank or visit us at teenthinktankproject.com. Until next week, I'm Kelly Nagel.